This is episode 17 of Art, Why I Stuck with a Junkie Jazz Man. In episode 16, Art is given free instruments by the Chicago Musical Instrument Company. In episode 17, he becomes a clinician for Buffet, and our relationship begins to change. This section is called Clinics and Casuals. Ken Yo, the Buffet horn guy, kept his promise. He got Art work. The director of the VA methadone program was delighted to cooperate. They loved to see their guys employed, and he let Art have 2 or 3, quotes, take-home daily doses in order to begin his travels to colleges all over the country. The clinics Art did at colleges, sponsored by CMI, usually went like this. A well-known performer endorsing an instrument would send big band charts to a college. The college band would rehearse the charts. Then the star would arrive, help the band rehearse, and finally perform a concert with them. The artist got airfare, a per diem, and a little money. I organized the band charts Art borrowed from musician friends, and I communicated with the schools. I created clumsy but sufficient forms for me to keep and Art to carry, with filled-in spaces for the details of each trip, flight times, names, phone numbers, etc. I also made up questionnaires for students. Art handed out and collected these. I asked the students what they liked and didn't, what they learned and what they'd like to learn. The idea was Art cared about the clinics and he wanted to perfect them. That was true. Art couldn't bear to do anything shoddily. He loved being called respectfully Mr. Pepper. He loved blowing the kids away with his brilliance. At one of those college clinics, Art got into trouble, not with the faculty or the kids, but with another musician, Gary Burton, with whom he'd shared the limelight. This guy actually reported him for getting tipsy at an after-concert faculty party and regaling the crowd with the sordid details of a convict's life. When Ken informed us of this, Art said, "They loved it. They were asking me about it." Burton had told Ken Yo in a letter that Art's drunken babbling besmirched the reputations of jazz musicians everywhere. I found that comment hysterically funny. Jazz musicians' reputations? No wonder jazz is moribund. After a couple of years of 2 or even 3 clinics a month, business fell off because Buffet was sold to another company who had no interest in promoting clinics. But the work was so good for Art's morale, I didn't want to see it end. I sought out a new affiliation for him with another sponsor, the Selmer Company, world famous for their horns. They graciously sent Art a batch of horns, but they weren't interested in clinics either. So I went to the library and found a book of colleges and universities. I noted down the ones that had jazz bands. I made up a brochure, had it printed, mailed it out to all the leaders of those bands. On the cover of the flyer, I put a stunning picture of Art I'd taken. He's standing on a stage, but in the wings, holding his saxophone, about to go on. Long, dark curtains swoop down on either side of him. He's handsome in a crisp suit and tie, and his posture and expression are full of his intention to be wonderful. I wrote a sanitized bio, a list of awards and accomplishments, and quoted praise I'd solicited from band directors he'd worked for in the past. Selmer wouldn't reimburse us for airfares, putting the burden on the schools who really didn't have much money. But we kept the clinics going for a while. Art was growing more dependent on me all the time. He hated leaving me and being on his own. He taught independent me to hate our separations too. He'd call from airports and motels and send postcards saying how he loved and missed me. The cards always arrived after he got back. The trips were so short. I'd take him to the airport, put him on the plane, and meet him at the gate when he returned, with so much joy and kissing you'd think we'd been apart for months. And there's an image here of a postcard from Fargo, North Dakota, I think. It says, "My little Dumpelberger, this is where I'm staying. I wish you were here. I miss you already. I love you more than anything in the world. Give Junior and Squeaky a kiss for me, Arthur." Junior and Squeaky were our cats. I often accompanied Art to the big commercial casuals he worked in town. He loved to have me with him, and he wanted me to drive because he drank so much at these things. Art's friend Lou Mallon had a casual band, The Sounds of Music. They played at parties all over the city, and these were usually Jewish events at which there was always a hora to dance. So I'd jump up and join the circle with the other guests. One New Year's Eve, I went with Art to a wedding reception at the Beverly Hills Hotel. I wore an expensive dress I'd bought on sale at Saks Fifth Avenue. It was a simple, slinky, off one shoulder, long black number slit way up my thigh. I'm small, and I was still skinny in those days, with broad shoulders, a fine round ass, and short black hair. In my high heels, Art told me I was stunning, and I had to agree. I wandered in with him and tried to mingle with the guests. Never easy for me. But the bride's dressmaker started a conversation with me, praising the dress. When it was time to sit down to dinner, I told her, laughing, that I'd crashed this wedding and had better make myself scarce. I pointed out my handsome, quotes, husband on the bandstand in his tux. This amiable lady got me a seat at her table where I had a great dinner. Later on, Art left the bandstand for a while to dance with me. It had been a long time since Art had had a woman who could pass in polite society, and he enjoyed it. Not that he ever thought he could. Art's manners were perfect, far better than mine. But unless he was being lionized, he was uncomfortable around au courant educated people with their liberal politics and superficial chat. As a junkie ex-con, he believed himself to be a pariah, and he had no small talk, as evidenced by the Gary Burton incident. Art continued playing casuals for quite a while. At those festivities, he was just an anonymous servant, occasionally recognized by some hip, astounded guest. He always let me know when he'd been spotted and would complain about the situation. But it was more important to him to be, quotes, a good provider. So he kept on working, even though his soon revived importance made him chafe at that sort of thing. And though neither one of us was really trying to make it happen, Art's work was about to get much more interesting.